If you're a certified nursing assistant, you know this life. The alarm blares before the sun is even up, and for the next 12 hours, you're everything to everyone. You're the hands, the ears, the heart for people who are relying on you completely. You got into this field because you care. But what happens when caring starts to cost you everything? When you're so exhausted, it feels like it's in your bones, and you start to wonder if anything you do even matters anymore. Well, that feeling, it has a name. It's burnout. And today, we're going to talk about it.
Let's just kick this off with a number that tells a huge part of the story. A jaw-dropping 81% of nurses say they've experienced burnout. Think about that. This isn't just a bad week at work. It's a full-blown crisis that's touching almost everyone in the profession.
And this right here is probably the single most important thing to hear today. The World Health Organization is really clear about this. Burnout is not some personal failing. It's not a sign that you're weak. It is a predictable, human response to being stuck in a stressful, unmanaged system for way too long. The problem isn't you, it's the environment.
All right, Section 1, a profession in crisis. Let's really look at the numbers and see just how deep this problem actually goes. Just look at how fast this is happening. In only 4 years, the burnout rate for health workers shot up from 32% to nearly half of the entire workforce. A jump that big, that fast? Well, that's not a trend. That's a system at its breaking point.
And this burnout has massive, real-world consequences. It's not just about feeling bad at your job. It's causing a mass exodus. We're talking over 138,000 nurses have just left, and they're pointing to stress and burnout as the main reason why. That creates a staffing crisis that puts patient care at risk for literally everyone. It's an institutional emergency. Okay, so let's move on to Section 2, the 3 faces of burnout. What does burnout actually look like? What does it feel like? Clinically, it's actually defined by 3 very distinct components.
So first, you have emotional exhaustion. This is that deep, soul-crushing fatigue where you feel like you have absolutely nothing left to give. And to cope with that, your brain might try to protect you by moving into the second stage, depersonalization. This is when you start putting up an emotional wall, and you might find yourself treating patients more like tasks than people. And that leads right into that third stage, a reduced sense of accomplishment, where you start to really believe that you're not making any difference at all. And this mental strain, it just spills over into every single part of your life. It starts out emotional, right? Anxiety, being irritable, but then it can become cognitive with cynicism and just not being able to focus. But then it gets physical. The frequent headaches, getting sick all the time, that exhaustion that sleep just doesn't fix. You know, they say the body keeps the score, and man, is that true here. Okay, Section 3. This is maybe the most important part. The anatomy of the problem and why it is not your fault. For so long, the advice has just been practice more self-care. But the data shows the real problem isn't the person, it's the workplace. I mean, this chart really says it all. The top driver of burnout? Crushing workloads. The second? A lack of support from management. These are not personal issues that you need to meditate your way out of. These are systemic, organizational failures. And that crushing workload leads to something researchers call moral injury. And this is a really deep psychological wound. It's that horrible feeling in the pit of your stomach when you know Mrs. Smith needs to be turned to prevent bed sores, but you have 3 other call lights going off and you just can't. You are being systematically prevented from giving the care you know is right. This brings us to this really painful disconnect. CNAs are without a doubt the backbone of patient care. You are skilled, essential members of the team. And yet so often, CNAs report feeling like they're treated as if they're expendable, like they're just misunderstood by management. That lack of respect is just gasoline on the fire of burnout. All right, Section 4, building your resilience toolkit. Knowing the causes is validating, but what can you actually do about it? Let's talk about strategies for surviving the present and, just as importantly, fighting for a better future. So let's start with what you can control. First off, radical self-care is not a luxury. It's a professional necessity. Second, you have to set and defend your boundaries. That means learning to say no to that extra shift. Next, create a transition ritual. It could be a specific playlist or podcast for the drive home. Something that tells your brain, okay, the shift is over. And finally, build your support network. Your coworkers get it like no one else can. Burnout thrives in isolation. Don't let it win. But we have to be honest here. Sometimes all the bubble baths and deep breathing exercises in the world won't fix a system that is fundamentally broken. So what happens when all your coping strategies feel like you're trying to bail out a sinking ship with a teaspoon? This is where you start to take your power back. Advocating for your workplace isn't just complaining, it's advocating for patient safety. Document everything. Keep a little log of unsafe staffing ratios and what happened because of them. And when you do talk to management, try to offer solutions, not just problems. And hey, when you interview for a new job, you are interviewing them too. Ask them tough questions about their ratios and how they support their staff. Which brings us to our final section, starting with a strong foundation. We just talked about finding a workplace that supports you, but what if the best defense against burnout is something you build before you even take your first job? A solid foundation in your training can be your single greatest asset for a long, resilient career. And that's really the philosophy at Diamond School of Nursing. Their whole approach isn't just about making sure you pass the state exam, it's about equipping you with the real-world competence and the deep confidence you need to actually thrive from day one. And that is a powerful defense against the overwhelm that so often kicks off that burnout cycle. So how do they do it? Well, they focus on comprehensive, hands-on training so you feel confident from the moment you step on the floor. They actually model work-life balance with flexible schedules. And this is huge. Their career services help connect you with employers who are already known for having good, supportive environments. It's about setting you up to succeed by starting your career in the right place from the very beginning. A career as a CNA is one of the most important, most rewarding paths you can possibly choose. But starting on the right foot, it makes all the difference in the world. So if you're ready to build a career that's not just successful, but actually sustainable for the long haul, I really encourage you to learn more about the Diamond School of Nursing. What you do is so incredibly valuable. But before we go, I want to ask you to help build a little community right here. For all the experienced CNAs watching this, what is the one piece of advice you would give to someone who is just starting out in this field? Share that wisdom in the comments below. Let's support each other.
Thank you for watching. We hope you found this video helpful. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us for more nursing educational videos. See you next time.